there, I'm Christina, Marketing Executive at Commusoft. Here, we're all about educating and empowering field service businesses to create remarkable customer experiences. How do we do this? We like to highlight a series of forward-thinking leaders in the industry and get them to dish out their best tips, all supported by the best of evidence, their continuous success. Today we have Rudy Uribe Jr. He's an expert in sales training with over 10 years of experience in helping owners and managers grow their companies. So he's definitely doing something right. Let's find out more. Rudy, how are you today?
Doing fantastic. Thank you, Christina. Good to be here.
Lovely. President of a painting company, content creator, now sales trainer for plumbers and other technicians. That's a story right there. Tell us a bit more about how you've reached the field service industry.
Well, actually, it started a little bit earlier than the paint and body company. I was in Los Angeles radio for a dozen years. I was a program director. I was on the air and absolutely loved that. That was my dream to be on radio. But with radio stations, when they change formats, they change staffs, and I was jumping up and down the dial and thought, okay, I don't need this. So I ended up going to a paint and body company doing marketing for them. Now, I am not a car guy. It's just not my thing, but I could do the marketing end of it, and I ended up being there 25 years, believe it or not. The last 5 years, I was president of the company. We had 34 locations, and it was quite a ride. It was fantastic. But we eventually ended up selling to a corporation, a big corporation, and so I found myself out of work. And the owner of Rudy Uribe Plumbing, whose name is John Akoyan, he and I were in business groups, the organizations together. And he said to me, he goes, "What are you going to do now?" I said, "I don't know. I might just retire." And he said, "No, don't do that. Come with me." And I said, again, I don't know anything about plumbing. And he said, "That's okay. Come with me." So I went with him. I did some recruiting for him, and then ended up doing marketing for him. And right now I do sales training for him. So I don't do any technical training. Not qualified to do that, but dealing with people, how you go into the house, how you treat the customer, things like that. That's what we work on mostly.
I mean, that's something that a lot of people don't pay enough attention to. And of course, a technician, whether it's plumbing, HVAC, or any other of the other specialties, obviously they're going to be trained to do their technical job, but there's not enough training going around when it comes to actually, like you said, interacting with people, being able to go to a customer's house, making people feel at ease, because obviously there is, at the end of the day, a stranger in their house, working on their home. So there has to be like a little bit of knowledge going on. What would you say, let's start from the beginning. What would you say are 3 things that people don't really know about closing sales, especially when you think about technicians going to people's houses to do a job?
Well, first of all, like you said, you're in someone else's home, and we always talk about treat their home as their castle. They are the king and queen, and you always ask permission to go anywhere on their property. You would never just go in or out the front door without first asking if you can do that. That's just a natural sign of respect. The other thing a lot of technicians do is, we're talking about sales, and the problem to me with sales is that a lot of technicians go in thinking they have to make a big sale, and they'll go into a house that may be for a clogged kitchen sink, but they immediately start swinging for the fences, and they throw out big numbers. And the customer is not prepared for that at all, and they send you on your way, and you walk away with a big fat 0 instead of actually helping the customer. So they went in with the wrong intention. They went in thinking, how much money can I make on this job versus how can I help this customer out? And so we focus a lot on that. The other thing is that we talk about options. You go in and you give them a price maybe just to repair the issue that they've got. But as you're walking around the house, Christina, you're going to see other issues, whether it's a water heater that needs replacing or angle stops, something in the house that is rusty and needs replacing. And so when you present the quote, you give them the lowest, and then the price goes up, and you let them choose. It's like, like a restaurant menu. Here's my menu. You can order spaghetti, you can order a hamburger, or we have our special today, which is filet mignon with a bone in, right? And some customers are going to go, you know what? Let's splurge and get the filet, and some people will do that. They'll just say, you know what? I'm sick and tired of running into problems. Let's just go ahead and fix everything. And so you've got to step your way up instead of just going for that big upsell and then walking away. And a lot of technicians just walk away saying there was no money there. Well, no, not if you're going to approach it like that, but you walked away without even helping. And that's something that we, tell them absolutely not to do. And the other thing is that you go in looking like a salesperson, and people don't like that. So how you conduct yourself, the types of questions that you're a plumber. You're there to solve their plumbing problem. If you start asking them if they're the homeowner, it's like, why do you need to know this? And you start throwing out sales lines. Like, if I could show you a way to get hot water instantly without, they're like, wait a second, this isn't what I was expecting, and their resistance goes up. And our
Because
goal,
you break the trust that they have in you as a technician, as an expert in helping them fix their home. Is that right?
absolutely, yeah. And our goal is to get the resistance down, not raise it. So again, a lot of techs go in, and again, they haven't had any training. They're plumbers, for goodness sakes. I mean, they went into the trade wanting to do plumbing, and now suddenly they're asked to sell. And they many of them never counted on that. Some are just naturals, others really struggle, and those are the ones that usually I end up spending my time with.
But they must be the most rewarding of all at the end of the day. I mean, and who would blame them? I mean, you don't become a technician because you're looking to sell in the beginning, at least. You might find a natural talent, like you said. It might be very lucky for that employer to have somebody who's both a good technician, but also kind of a friendly person. They're good at giving advice. They're good at listening. To the customer. But like you said, it comes down to trust. And when you walk into somebody's home, that person trusts you, to be an expert in plumbing, in heating,
Yeah.
in air conditioning, etc. But yeah, as soon as you start with a sales pitch, something flips. And I was like, well, what are you? Are you a
That,
technician or are you a salesman?
that's right.
So that's a pretty good advice, Rudy. And I think definitely, I mean, from your work, you've learned so much. And what we've seen also with our clients and just with other people we've been chatting to is that a big challenge in the trades industry is achieving this growth mentality.
Hmm.
So realizing that even if you think you're not selling, you actually are. Like, as soon as you step into somebody's home, yes, you're there for a job. But if you get asked, hey, how much do you think this is going to cost if I want to do so and so? Well, as soon as you give an answer, you are actually selling. So, how do you help business owners transition to this mindset?
Well, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit if I could. Uh,
By all means, go
yeah,
ahead.
the selling process starts long before you give the quote. I mean,
Mm,
when the person back at the office answers the phone, when that customer first calls, the selling process has begun. They're going to judge your company based on how that customer service representative treats them. And then when you
right.
show up, if that van is dirty and you look like a handyman, they might be thinking, this is not what I was looking for. So, the van's got to be clean. It goes kind of without saying, but it raises the confidence in you. Nice uniform, all of that is part of the selling process. And when you get to the door and you put your booties on, the customer's like, this guy knows what he's doing here. And to me, that is all the prerequisite for being able to give that quote. So if you haven't done any of that in the beginning and you throw a quote at them, yeah, no, that's not the right way to do it. So we teach again our customers to come in. Now earlier, I said to you, you don't want to ask if they're the homeowner, right? But what we teach is that as you're walking to the issue with them, let's say it's a kitchen sink, uh, as we're walking there, I might say, Christina, since you've owned the home, is this the first time you've had this problem? Right? And if you say, no, it's happened before, well, I just got two things out of that. I found out that you're the homeowner, and I found out that you've had this issue before. So I'm asking a question, and I am subtly finding out whether you're a renter or a homeowner. And if you say to me, oh no, I rent here, I'll say, well, since you've lived here, is this the first time you've had the problem? And it's little things that technicians will say that can hurt a sale. For example, if you said to me, no, I rent here, and the technician says, oh, well, that's okay. It's kind of an insult, you know? So thank you. I'm glad you think it's okay that I can rent a place. So it's the little stuff that subconsciously starts to wear on the customer, and they're immediately thinking, I like this guy or I don't like this guy. And they may not even know why that is, but you've really got to be on your game once you show up at the customer's home.
That is exactly the kind of advice we wanted to hear, Rudy. And thank you very much for everyone watching at home. Make sure to think about the way you phrase your questions, because every single word can mean something different. And it all goes back to how you influence the customer and the impact that you make on them. And I think this is definitely, I mean, you see a lot of tutorials online, and you see a lot of people teaching confidence or doing like how to be more charismatic. And it all comes down to the relationship that you build with the customer. Like, always try to put yourselves in their position. How would you react to somebody who walked into your house with mud on their boots and didn't care that you have to clean up afterwards? You probably wouldn't be very happy with that person, I imagine. Or exactly. It's always think about it. And let's say, Rudy, you mentioned, and I think this is really interesting, like there are some technicians who are just naturals at sales, and there are some technicians who aren't. And I reckon it's a lot more difficult for those in the second category to open themselves up to doing more sales. And it's normal. If you're not good at something, you're not really going to be looking forward to it. So how do we get better? How do you think you would be able to motivate technicians to get better at sales? Because we've heard like ideas from some of our clients where they offer commission based on customer feedback or based on upsells. What do you think about that? And be honest. Like if you don't like the practice, be honest about it.
I don't like the practice. And
Yes.
what happens most of the time is your top salespeople will get the commissions or the perks or win the prize. You know, whether you're giving away a 65-inch television or whatever, it's always the top guys that get that, and it makes the lower guys, you know, the ones not earning as much. And now they're chasing something. Now they're under pressure. Now they're going into a home thinking I got to make a sale. And again, we're talking about that not being, you know, the case. That's not the way you go into a home. So Simon Sinek wrote a book called "What's Your Why," and in our training, we will ask everyone, Christina, to tell us why they come to work and why they come to work for the particular company that they come to work. And you know, the first thing you get is, well, to make money. Well, you can make money. You know, you can go to McDonald's and make money. So that's not the reason you're coming here. Why are you coming here? And you start going deep, and we'll do it like five, you know, like peel back 5 layers of onion. And I have had, I'm talking about big, tough guys, tats everywhere. They've been in prison. They're sitting there, and they break down and start crying. And one guy says, I want to prove to my stepfather that I'm not a loser. And I mean, it just chokes us up, you know, and that's just one example. People will sit there and say, you know, I've been told my whole life that I'm not worthy of doing certain things. And when they finally realize why they get up and go to work, even if they're not feeling well that day, they're going to get out of bed and they're going to go to work because their why is so strong and so powerful. So to me, that's the motivation. You know, the gimmicks don't do anything. It's got to be internal. And again, you don't always reach everybody, but when you do reach someone, wow, it's powerful, and what a difference. And you'll see all these, again, tough guys in a room during the break, they'll go over and they'll give this guy a hug or something. You go, wow, this is awesome. So that guy is now going to go out tomorrow or later on this afternoon, going to give it his all. So to me, that's where the motivation comes from.
Excellent. So listen closely, everyone at home. Ask your technicians, or if you're interviewing, because lots of people are trying to hire now, and it's really important that you get the right people. Ask them a simple question. Why do you want to work for this company? Why do you want to work for me and not from, plumber guy next door? Why do you want to work for me and not at another company or a different career? And I think, interestingly enough, Rudy, one of our most successful articles on the Commusoft blog, I'm plugging shamelessly, but you'll find the link down in the description,
Okay.
in the description box below. But it really is like the most successful article we have on the blog is a list of questions to ask technicians in their interviews. And it's not a list of technical questions, because I'm sure business owners are going to be much better experts at figuring that out. And if the guy comes in and he's not qualified to be a technician, I mean, that's from the get-go, it's a no. But it's more the kind of questions that you ask people in order to gauge exactly what you said. Why do they want to be there? How would they react in a situation where the customer is simply getting on their nerves? Like, would they get angry? Would they insult the customer? Even if the customer is in the wrong, that is one of the most difficult situations, because nobody likes to be treated poorly. But what do you do, because you're in a business situation? And when it comes to recruiting and asking the right questions in interviews and just getting technicians that are more skilled at customer service, what should companies do to attract more of these people? Is this something, do you think you can identify this just in an interview?
I think you can, and I do something slightly different than what you're talking about, and I've been very successful with it. And that is, I don't ask questions in an interview. Instead, I make statements, and then I ask them to comment on my statement. And I tell them up front. For example, I may say to you, Christina, I'm going to make a statement here. It may or may not apply to you, but I'd like you to tell me what you think about it. I might say, the last company I worked for didn't treat their employees very well, and I'd hand it over to you, and they might say something like, "Oh yeah, they didn't treat us right. They treated us like dirt." And I'll say, "Well, tell me why," and then they go into it. So these are emotionally charged questions that I ask. I might say something like, companies expect you to sell, but they don't give you the tools. And they'll go, no, the companies I work with, they help us, or they'll say, no, they don't. Either way, even if they say, no, they help us pretty much, I'll say, well, tell me, what do they do? And I'm getting information from them. And again, something like, I have never called in sick. And I'll look at them and they go, no, I've called in sick. Well, tell me what happened, and they're just talking, and you don't want them sitting up stiff and it's all rehearsed and they're ready to give you these answers, these standard answers. You want them to relax and just talk to you. And again, I remember talking with an HR person that I was asked to interview for the company, and I remember saying something like, I hate working with managers. They just will not listen. And she said, yes, they will not listen to you. I mean, you can tell them to your blue. And I knew that our managers are kind of like that. And I could see right away, this woman is going to be frustrated working in this company, because that's what she's going to come up against. So I threw things at her without saying our managers are like this. I threw things at her that I knew that would come up, and she was not handling it well. She was getting frustrated with my statement, so we ended up not going with her. But anyway, that's my technique. I throw statements out and then wait for them to respond on them.
Statements instead of questions. I'm writing this down, Rudy, and I'm actually going to steal this tip. I think I'm going to use it for my own team. Statement, not questions. And interesting, because I imagine whenever you make a statement as the person in a position of power during an interview, people are definitely tempted to simply agree with you because you've stated that. So that's a really good way of spotting those who actually, think for themselves, and they have the courage to say, well, I don't really agree with that, or that hasn't been my experience. I think that's much stronger, like especially when you say, oh, managers never listen. Well, in my experience, they do listen. Maybe I've been privileged enough, to have good managers. Excellent tip, Rudy. Very good. Wow, you'd think you've been doing this for a lot of years, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, another one of my favorites,
No.
if I may, is just,
Yes, another
you know,
one. Give me
just
another one.
just say the statement, customers are cheap and they are so frustrating. And again, wait for them to go, oh, they are cheap. It's like, no, is this, is this the guy I'm looking for, right? And if you go, oh, yes, they frustrate me all the time. Well, how do you deal with that? So again, they're
Hmm.
all questions related to something they're going to come up against.
Hmm. And what are some of the risks that, or any of the costs associated with doing sales in the field like this? Like you said, customers can be unreceptive, technicians can be stressed out, especially when it's something that is kind of like outside their job description. Like, sales is very different from plumbing. What do you think are some risks associated with this?
Well, I think the biggest risk is you touched on it earlier that we do have to sell,
Hmm.
and you've got to sell no matter what. I mean, if you're a professional tennis player and you want to give tennis lessons at the club, you've still got to get clients. You're selling one way or another. So we're all in selling mode, but so many plumbers, excuse me, so many plumbers just want to get in there and they just want to do the work. It's like, can you sell it for me and I'll do the work and I'll do a great job. I don't want to sell it. And that's a lack of confidence. They haven't done it often enough and it's a lack of experience. So the biggest challenge for me is for them to throw out a quote, to actually give the price and then ask for the order. That's the biggest challenge they face. And again, one of the things we tell them is it's like stepping up to a free throw line in basketball, that we teach them a process that when you step up to the line, you might dribble maybe 3 or 4 times, whatever your routine is, whatever you do in practice. So you dribble 3 times and then you take a deep breath and you shoot. And you do that over and over and over when you're practicing. That's just your pre-shot routine. Well, once you let go of that basketball, you have no control whether it's going to go through the hoop or not. I mean, it's out of your control. It's left your hand already. And so we tell the technicians that, here are steps that we want you to follow. At the end, give them a price, ask for the order, and you're going to get it or you're not. Don't worry about it. If you've done your portion of it from the beginning, that's all you can do. You cannot control whether that customer is going to buy from you or not. And to me, that's liberating to know that I don't have to make this sale. And if you can relax, you're probably going to make the sale. It's when we get tight, whether in a sports situation or anything, the muscles tighten, the breathing quickens, you're not going to be at your top performance. And I think the same thing happens with sales. So it's just knowing, let me just help you. And at the end of the day, I'll give you a quote. Here's what my company charges for this. And if they like you, they're going to go with it. And yeah, Christina, we all have closing lines that we use and all that, but that's not the secret. The secret is what you did prior to all of that.
Yes, and we do have a way. I mean, when we talk about it like this, it might sound a little bit overwhelming to people listening at home. Well, how do I get a handle on this? Well, how do I implement, the invoicing process, the booking process, the whatnot process? And it definitely starts at the top. And it starts with having a vision. We call this customer journeys. This is the term we use. And you'll notice that I said journeys,
Mhm.
multiple journeys, because we don't think about it as a simple customer journey from I need a plumber to a plumber has fixed my issue. We think of each bit as an individual one. So for example, there is a booking journey. There's a set of steps that people take before they even reach your website or like find your phone number, before they call you, before somebody books them in into a calendar. That whole thing is a journey. And we think that if you break it down into every single step, it just makes it more manageable and it makes it easier to really iron out the kinks. And when it comes, and of course, the sales process, the actual technician on the job journey is also an instance where practice makes perfect, like you said, accepting that at the end of the day, the customer will decide for themselves. All you can do is increase your chances as much as possible by practicing, by knowing what you're doing, knowing the kind of products you want to sell, or appliances or installations. And you highlighted something really important a bit earlier about asking people during interviews, or stating during interviews, that they're not being offered the right tools, in order to sell. And I think that's essential, because you can't really expect someone to go and do a job if you don't give them the tools. So obviously Commusoft is a tool, so we strongly believe in having these processes in place and using the right tools in order to sell. Everyone watching at home, I'm going to link a really interesting episode about giving people options, exactly like Rudy said. Don't just go out, be like, X amount of money, this is it, take it or leave it. Because people are going to be under pressure, and it's going to be fight or flight. And more often than not, it's going to be flight. No, 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 I do not want that. Is that right, Rudy? What do you
That's right.
think? That's
Absolutely.
right. People are just going to walk away. But when you come up with a bunch of different options, you give people the minimum viable product. You're going to be like, well, I don't really recommend this one. It's not ideal, but we can do this. You give people the middle way, the middle ground, average price, average job, or you give people the bells and whistles. And there will always be people going for the premium. That's why you have everything like diamond services, Uber, Lux, and all that stuff. And some people are just going to go for the average. But what's interesting enough is that very, very, very few people are going to go for the cheapest option, because nobody want to be the cheapskate.
Yes, and we found the numbers we have is that 6% of your customers will always go for the bells and whistles, and that's the number we look at. So on 100 calls, 6 of those customers are going to say, "Yeah, let's just go." But if you don't offer it, Christina, they
You
have
don't
nothing.
know.
Yeah, they have nothing to go for. And one other thing that we teach our techs is to give something away for free. So when it comes time, you've done all your work and you're ready, and the customer might say, so how much is this going to cost? Yeah, you would say something like, well, do you have one of our coupons? And quite often they might say yes, yes or no, obviously. So, but if they say no, say, you know what, I've got one out in the truck. Let me get that for you. And we're looking at $77 for a drain cleaning, whatever. All these companies have specials from $40 to $99. So you give them something right up front. You give them a little aerators maybe to make the water flow out nice. It costs you $6 to do that. You have to let the customer know that you're doing that. And the reason is the law of reciprocity. And that law says that if I give you something, you're going to want to give me something. And out here in the US, next week is Thanksgiving. And a lot of families are going to be getting together. And the first thing when you invite somebody, the first thing out of their mouth is, what can I bring? Because you are giving me a meal, I need to reciprocate, right? So we condition the customer that way a little bit. I'm going to do this. Oh, there's no charge for this. Don't worry about that. So you're giving away just little things, but at the end of the day, the customer feels obligated, if you will. And this goes back to the Reader's Digest story. I don't know if you know or have ever talked about that. Reader's Digest.
Let's hear it.
Reader's Digest, I may not have the dates right, but we're going back to 1950s. And Reader's Digest was struggling with their subscriptions. So a marketing genius said, when we send out our mailers, our advertising mailers, let's put 2 pennies inside. And a subscription to Reader's Digest was $2 a year back then. So the letter said, Enclosed are 2 pennies. 1 penny is your discount, so now it only costs you $1.99, and the other penny is for you to keep for good luck. All right. As silly as that may sound, they sold over 4 million subscriptions that year. And you still see it in play today because charities do it all the time. You'll get an envelope and there's a pen inside or a little memo pad or a greeting card. They're giving you something that's worth pennies and they're asking for $100, $200 donation. Now, if it didn't work, they wouldn't be doing that. So it does work. And we tell our technicians the same thing. You just treat them right, make them feel good, give them a little something. And when the time comes, they're going to appreciate you and they're going to want to reciprocate. So that's something else that we teach them to do.
Exactly, and adding to that, there's also the brand value that you gain by giving people something. Let's say we've seen this is the most minimal effort you can make. We've seen people just giving out some stickers or like putting a sticker on the appliance they installed, a small sticker that just says, if you're experiencing any issues, give us a call, phone number. Of course, the customer is going to call that phone number. It's on the appliance.
Right.
So we've learned a lot today, Rudy, and I feel like you brought so much good advice. Even for myself, I think I'm going to take this back to the team. So I'm going to ask you the big question, because obviously everyone's been coming from quite a difficult year with challenges, and I think the word that most people use was simply unexpected. Like, we never expected this. But at the end of the day, if you're a business owner, if you're running a business, you need to expect the unexpected. You need to be ready. So where do you see the trades industry going in the next 6 to 12 months when it comes to sales? Like, what would be 3 key actionable tips you would give somebody, something they can do as soon as they close this video?
Well, the one thing that most companies lack is training, period. They just don't do enough of it. Role plays can be very helpful. Most people don't do well in role plays. They're in front of their peers and they're nervous and they just butcher it usually. But it's okay. It gets them out of their comfort zone a little bit. So that's something else. And the trend I'm seeing out here in Los Angeles or Southern California in general is that they are going to the field supervisor mode. And the field supervisor is really a salesperson who comes in with a camera. And our goal is for the technician, get your cable in the line. If you don't get your cable in the line, we have nothing. So that would be the $77 job. You get the cable in there. You always try to clear it, Christina, to clear the clog no matter what. And I've seen some guys who try to fake it so they can go, oh, it's really bad. And certainly that's not anything we would preach to anyone. You don't have to do that. That's not necessary. So you get a cable in the line, and rather than say, I got it draining or I cleared it, we teach them never to say that, because as soon as you tell a customer I cleared it, the call is over. They're going to say, thank you very much. And you're going to say, you know what, let me get my camera specialist out here so we can have a look in there. And they're going to say, no, that's all right. Thank you. I'll wait till the next time it backs up. You're done. You're going to pack up and leave. So what we tell them is to use the terms, I got the water to drop, but the way it dropped has me concerned. And that is a true statement. It is not a lie, because whether the water drops quickly or it drains slowly, what's going on? Why is it draining so quickly? Is there a leak under the house maybe that is causing this to happen? Or we use the peanut butter jar analogy, where you can poke a pencil into a brand new jar of peanut butter and pull it out. You'll have a little hole in the peanut butter, but eventually that's going to close up. So I may have just punched a hole in there. Unless we take a look, there's no way of knowing. So I've called my camera specialist. He's going to come out. We're going to run a camera free of charge. There's that free. Again, we're going to run it, no charge to you. Just make sure that you're not going to have this problem again. So once you get a camera in the line, a lot of sewer lines are in bad shape, not all certainly. But now you've got the field supervisor there. And generally, these people are salespeople. This is this is what they do. So it takes a lot of pressure off the technician who doesn't like to sell. And all it says to him is go in, treat the customer right, take care of their problem, call your supervisor, and step back. And the supervisor will take it over from there. And I'm seeing that everywhere out here in Southern California. Multiple companies are doing that, and they're doing it very successfully. Their numbers are through the roof.
Excellent advice. So just to sum up a little bit of what we've been talking about today, first of all, technicians need to be aware when they go into somebody's house. You're aware that you're in a sales situation. You're aware that you're providing a customer service. That's what you're going to be judged on. But also you have the power. Like, don't take this as you being under pressure. You are under pressure, of course, but at the same time, you're in a position of power. You're the expert that somebody trusts. That's your responsibility. And you also, it gives you the possibility of helping someone. Then don't go for the big sale straight away. Don't scare people away with some massive number, even if you want to make that sale. That's never a good option because you send people into flight mode. Then whenever you're talking to someone, try to go for statements, not questions, so you don't put them on the spot. You turn this into a conversation. And how do you get all of this done and done perfectly? Practice and training. Is that right, Rudy?
Well, you summed it up beautifully. That's
practice and training. There's just no way around it. It takes effort. It's impressive because it takes a lot of effort. None of this happens effortlessly. It might look effortlessly when you see Rudy talking about it, but he's got some experience behind him. This is not his first day on the job, so it makes sense, of course. But there you have it. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Rudy? Any advice for everyone watching at home?
Well, again, the advice for me is really treat your people right. Number one, put some kind of a life balance in place. Don't have these guys working 16, 18-hour days. You know, they've got families, and all of that is appreciated. And that word is a big word too. You need to appreciate your people and let them know that. The rest, you know, can be taught, but how you treat them. There's high turnover in the plumbing industry, and a guy will jump from one place to another because they're offering a 0.25% more commission or something. Well, if that's the case, you haven't developed loyalty. You're not treating them right. So a lot of small family units, you know, plumbing companies, employees will stay with them forever. And the bigger companies don't have that. So if you can develop that somehow, just, you know, pat on the back or a phone call or a, you know, happy birthday when it's their birthday or when it's their spouse's birthday, you know, well, you know, want to wish your wife a happy birthday or something. All that makes a difference. So how you treat your people is how they are going to treat your customers. So just keep that in mind.
Yes, keep your best people close. And there you have it. Thank you so much, Rudy. If you want to get in touch with Rudy, if you want to start closing more sales, learning more about sales training, and how those little details make such a big difference, click the link in the description box down below. That's all for today. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the Commusoft channel. I'm Christina, Marketing Executive at Commusoft, and I'll see you next time.